Gonna go on a song and say, verbatim, you still hang with them that done got your partner whacked? Okay. So you got 21 Savage on your album, and then 21 Savage get on the album and say, get him smacked, then turn around and give his brother down. So he dissing your partner on your album. Probably said it in the studio with you.
I got Wham and Savage on the phone to stop whatever could have happened with them. I got niggas on the phone.
Sometimes the truth hides in plain sight, right inside the lyrics. A rapper gets on a track and spits something word for word, and most people just nod their heads and move on. But the streets? They hear everything. That's exactly what happened when 21 Savage dropped a bar that seemed harmless, until people realized he was talking about Lil Baby's closest friend, the same friend who ended up dead on the interstate. Before we get into this insane story, make sure you subscribe Beef Scandal for more deep dive breakdowns like this. Now let's go back to where this all began. Lil Baby and Marlo weren't rap buddies who met in the industry. They were brothers long before fame. Same block, same struggles, same trenches in Bankhead, one of Atlanta's roughest neighborhoods. When both signed to Quality Control, everyone assumed they'd rise together. But their careers took very different paths. Baby shot up like a rocket, while Marlo struggled to catch the same wave. QC's head, P, later revealed the truth. Marlo's music wasn't making the kind of money Baby's was, so he stayed involved in the streets to keep up his lifestyle. Baby tried hard to pull him out. Studio sessions, features, deals, opportunities, everything. But Marlo was locked into the street life in a way that he couldn't let go of. And that loyalty to the streets is what brought him face to face with the one man he should have never crossed. Someone tied directly into 21 Savage's circle. Because here's something casual fans never understood. Marlo wasn't a rapper pretending to be tough. He was really respected out there. Connected to PFK, Play for Keeps, also known as 3L, a crew with serious ties to the Goodfellas mob. And according to Street Talk, Marlo had handled business for his people long before he picked up a microphone. The situation took a deadly turn when Marlo allegedly had Capo Nuke, a high-ranking Goodfella member and a man deeply connected to 21 Savage's 4L circle, taken out over a personal dispute. That single move changed everything, because Nuke wasn't someone whose death could be ignored. He was powerful, respected, and tied to real hitters. And that's when 21 Savage's crew allegedly decided Marlo had to go. And before we continue, hit that subscribe Beef Scandal button so you don't miss the rest of this insane breakdown. To carry out the hit, the streets say 21's young soldier Baby Drill, 17 at the time, saw an opportunity to prove himself. He followed Marlo from a Bankhead reunion onto I-285, and the rest is history. Shots fired, car crashed, Marlo gone on the spot. But the murder wasn't the end of the disrespect. 21 Savage later dropped bars on Lil Baby's own album that fans realized were aimed directly at Marlo, a dead man, on Baby's project, while Baby was still grieving. That was the moment the streets knew the situation went much deeper than music, and things only escalated from here. As the world desperately searched for MH370, an unexpected global competition quietly began behind the scenes. Intelligence agencies, radar centers, and satellite companies from multiple countries exchanged limited information publicly, but privately, each of them tried to be the first to uncover the truth, hoping to secure political and technological advantage. Despite sharing radar logs and satellite handshakes, every new piece of data only deepened the confusion. Governments hesitated to provide any final statement because a conclusion requires solid evidence, wreckage, black boxes, or bodies. And MH370 left behind almost nothing except scattered fragments. This absence of proof forced officials to keep the case open, allowing fear, speculation, and conspiracy to grow endlessly. Even now, if you want deeper investigations into mysteries like this, subscribe Beef Scandal for more content. Another strange and haunting element was the unusual silence from major authorities. Boeing, Rolls-Royce, Malaysian Air Defense, Indonesian Radar, and even the Australian Search Coordination Center all released only a few public comments before going quiet. Some analysts believe they simply lacked data, but others insist the silence suggests they know far more than they have revealed. Experts reconstructed the aircraft's final hours using satellite signals, showing that MH370 flew for nearly 6 hours after losing contact. Yet the direction changes were too precise to match emergency maneuvers or accidental drifting. Many pilots argue only someone with deep Boeing 777 experience could have executed such controlled turns, hinting that whoever was in the cockpit remained conscious and deliberate until the very end. And if that is true, then the real question becomes, who was controlling the plane, and what was their motive? Some investigators suggest the aircraft might have performed a controlled glide before hitting the ocean, which could explain the lack of debris, no large breakup, and no oil slick. A gentle, deliberate descent would allow the plane to sink nearly intact, far below detection range. This raises two possibilities. Either it was an intentional act, or the final attempt of a pilot trying to protect the passengers. Sadly, no one knows what the passengers themselves experienced. If the cabin depressurized early, they may have lost consciousness within minutes. If not, they lived through hours of darkness, fear, and uncertainty. The lack of answers is what haunts the families the most. Many researchers believe that certain countries are still hiding key radar or satellite information, possibly for geopolitical reasons. Even private satellite firms detected unexplained infrared anomalies near the Indian Ocean that were never fully addressed. Were these signals the final moments of the aircraft? Were they ignored? Or did they simply not fit the official timeline? Silence remains the only response. MH370 is no longer just a missing plane. It has become a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that even the most advanced aviation systems cannot prevent mysteries from unfolding. The event forced global aviation to implement major changes: improved satellite tracking, new cockpit protocols, better real-time monitoring, and new safety requirements. But the psychological impact remains the greatest, proving that sometimes, even in the era of limitless technology, an entire aircraft can still disappear without leaving answers behind. Until the wreckage and black box are found, every theory will remain alive, every suspicion will continue to circulate, and the world will keep searching for the truth. For more mysteries like this, don't forget to subscribe Beef Scandal. In the years following the disappearance of MH370, the weight of uncertainty grew heavier, shaping a global tragedy that felt almost unreal. A story so vast and so haunting that even today, it stands beyond the limits of modern understanding. Families who lost loved ones continued gathering every year, holding faded photographs, handwritten letters, and the kind of memories that never let a person sleep peacefully again. Mothers waited at doors that would never open again. Children grew up believing their parents would one day walk back into their lives. Husbands and wives searched endlessly for a final clue, a final sign, something, anything, that could explain why a normal flight transformed into the greatest aviation mystery of our generation. Investigators traveled from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, from Australia to Madagascar, chasing pieces of debris scattered like whispers across the ocean. Some fragments washed onto beaches thousands of miles apart, carried by currents that scientists studied for months. But every piece told only a fraction of the story. Not one could describe the terror, the silence, or the final decisions made inside that cockpit. As the world turned toward new technologies, more satellites, more radar upgrades, and more advanced tracking systems, the painful irony became clearer. MH370 disappeared in the age of information, in an era where nothing is supposed to vanish. Yet an aircraft weighing hundreds of tons slipped through the sky as if it were a ghost. Nations promised renewed searches, but political disagreements, funding issues, and fears of embarrassment caused delays. Some countries feared that revealing certain radar data might expose their defense capabilities. Others simply wanted to avoid being blamed for what happened. Behind the scenes, whispered reports suggested that multiple governments knew more than they admitted, but diplomatic pressure kept the truth locked away. Meanwhile, the Indian Ocean, an endless expanse of restless water, held its secrets in complete silence. The ocean floor, deeper than Mount Everest is tall, became the aircraft's graveyard. Robots scanned the depths. Sonar waves painted shapes on screens. But the sea returned no answers. The emotional toll on the world became even heavier when experts admitted there might never be a discovery unless technology advances far beyond what we have today. The realization shattered millions. The idea that a truth, no matter how devastating, could remain permanently hidden. MH370 became more than just a missing flight. It became a symbol of our vulnerability, of how small humanity truly is against the forces of nature and the unknown. It changed airline protocols, reshaped global aviation safety rules, and forced airlines to adopt real-time tracking. Yet the core mystery stayed untouched. In documentaries, interviews, and global conferences, analysts debated every possibility. A catastrophic failure, a hijacking, a cockpit incident, a silent decompression, or a deliberate act. But none of these theories had the evidence needed to close the case. This story will continue to echo through history until the day the wreckage is finally found. And that moment, whenever it comes, will rewrite everything the world believes about this flight. Until then, MH370 remains suspended between fact and myth, a void in the sky where 239 lives simply vanished. The families continue to live with unanswered questions that burn deeper than grief itself. The investigators continue to chase a truth that feels just out of reach. And the world watches, waiting for the moment when the ocean finally gives up what it has been hiding for more than a decade. Until that day comes, the disappearance of MH370 will stand as a reminder that even in our most advanced era, mysteries still exist. So vast, so silent, and so painful that they define generations. And if you want to continue exploring stories like this, stories of the unknown, the forgotten, the unsolved, don't forget to subscribe Beef Scandal and stay connected for more deep investigation.